I've seen a lot of people confused about the conflict that is going on right now between Israel and Iran. And to be clear, all of these various conflicts going on around the world can be very confusing for anyone, including myself. But let me try to explain the conflict between Iran and Israel right now in like the simplest way that I know how. So, we all know that Israel has invaded Gaza and they're at war with Hamas, right? Let's set that conflict to the side for a moment. We have Iran. Iran has been at odds with America and Israel for a very long time. But you see, Iran, they do what I call they throw rocks and then they hide their hands. Iran funds a lot of different terror organizations, militias, little military groups throughout the Middle East. So for years now, Iran has indirectly carried out attacks against Israel and American soldiers on various bases throughout the Middle East. But they never carry out these attacks directly because they don't want America or Israel to respond to them directly. You know, they want to basically have their cake and eat it too. They want to use these little groups to do their bidding, but then when it comes time for retaliation, they want to say, hey, we don't have anything to do with this. Even though the whole world knows that Iran is backing these militias and these various groups, it's still not something that's viewed as officially official. Right? And it's not like Iran is the only one that uses proxy groups throughout the world to do their bidding. Various countries are doing this right now. In fact, some would argue that NATO is using Ukraine right now as a proxy group to fight Russia, right? So Iran uses all of these different militia groups. And after they carry out an attack, we usually retaliate to these militia groups and we leave Iran itself alone. Well, over the past few months, there's been things happening, and Israel, and listen, I'm not here to take sides in this conflict, I'm just letting you know what's happening. I guess Israel has grown tired of ignoring the fact that Iran is behind all of these militias. So Israel has kind of bitten off more than it can chew in a little bit. They got this conflict that's going on, obviously, in Gaza. Now they got beef with Iran. They got stuff going on in Syria, and Yemen, all over the place, right? So I guess Israel has grown tired of, you know, having these little attacks coming from these Iranian militias, and they decided that they wanted to respond to Iran directly without responding or retaliating to Iran on Iran's own soil. So Israel figured out that some high-ranking Iranian military officials were going to be in Damascus, Syria, having a meeting at the consulate building, right? So Israel decided to bomb that building. And when they did so, they killed a lot of high-ranking officials in the Iranian army. Now, this is viewed as a sign of escalation. Because, hey, if you want to attack the proxy groups that we're using to attack you, that's fine. When you attack and kill one of our generals or high-ranking officers in our military, that's a direct attack. Now, this happened on the world stage. The world is watching. So Iran simply can't turn away and not do anything because then they will be viewed as weak. And they've been puffing out their chest in the region for a long time. And a lot of these Middle Eastern countries, they look to Iran as one of the strongest countries in the area, right? So Iran had to respond. It's almost as if their hand was forced and they couldn't respond through their proxies. No, because it wasn't their proxies that were attacked. Their own military officials were killed. So they had to respond directly from Iranian soil for the first time in history. No more we're using proxies to attack Israel. No, we're going to launch all of these missiles and all of these drones directly from Iran. Now, they did this to kind of, we're the big bad wolf. We want to show you that we're big and bad. But in reality, they knew that this attack wasn't much. They warned America that it was coming. They warned Israel that it was coming. They sent drones and missiles that would take hours to reach Israel so Israel could prepare. And they didn't, as far as I know right now, things may change, they did not target any like residential areas or anything with these drones. They only targeted Israeli military bases and military targets. So in many ways, this is something that can be viewed as what they call saber rattling or something along those lines. It's kind of like a bluff. Yeah, we sent this large attack knowing that it would do nothing, but we had to show our people that we're strong and we're going to respond. But in reality, we don't want to inflict too much damage because we don't want y'all retaliating and, blowing Iran off the map. That's what's going on here. Yesterday's attack, it could have been worse. I think the fact that they gave them such a heads up, the fact that they used drones and missiles that would take hours to reach Israel when they have better equipment at their disposal, I think this was just, trying to not be embarrassed about what happened in Damascus, trying to show the people of Iran and the people of the Middle East that they're not going to back down. But at the same time, I don't think they really want a full-scale conflict right now with Israel and America, because all sides will lose, but in the long run, Iran will lose the most. Because in the long run, the battle will be fought in Iran, and Iran will be leveled to the ground and will become rubble, and their regime will probably be snatched out, all of that stuff, and they want to avoid that. So that's why I think the attack that we saw yesterday was not as bad as it could have been. Now, Iran has already stated after the attack yesterday that they're done. We can leave it right here. You killed our people in Damascus. We responded with this major drone attack on Israel, and now that's a tit for tat. Let's leave it alone. You do nothing, we do nothing, right? We'll leave it at that. Let bygones be bygones. We're even now. That's the message that Iran sent out. But Israel is like, oh, hell no. We're not even. Screw that. We're about to retaliate. Now, Israel, the ball is in Israel's court right now. And in many ways, the way Iran responded was very strategic. Because Iran, at the end of the day, they want to be viewed, how can I put this? They don't want to be viewed as the bad guys in the long run. So as Israel is bombing everyone in the Middle East, as Israel is bombing, there's a lot of accusations out there about what Israel has done to innocent people in Palestine, and, bombing these random buildings in Syria. Some would say that that's not necessarily a good look, right? Like, if you want to go to war with Hamas and go to war with Hamas, why are you bombing buildings in Syria? So Iran wants to come out of this looking like the good guy. And I'm not saying they are the good guy, but right now, like I said, they warned America and Israel that they were going to launch these missiles and drones. They sent missiles and drones that would take hours, knowing that most of them would be shot down. Most of them, if not any of them, would hit their target. And then they said, hey, it's done. We're leaving things up to you. We're done. Everything's okay now unless y'all respond again. Now, if y'all respond again, then it's going to get worse. So they put the ball in Israel's court. And now Israel, instead of like, okay, none of the drones hit their mark, let's just call it even for right now. Let's worry about what we got going on in Gaza and various other regions, and let's leave Iran alone. Israel can make that decision. And that decision would save countless lives and possibly save America from getting further involved in this conflict. But it looks like Israel's not going to make that decision. Israel has promised that they are going to retaliate, and that the retaliation is going to be 10 times worse than what Iran did. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Like I said, it doesn't matter what side you're on. I'm not on any particular side, but the ball has been put in Israel's court. And, Iran wants to come out of this not necessarily looking like the good guys to the U.S. and Israel, but to the rest of the world. So if Israel responds by bombing residential areas in Iran, and we have innocent people getting killed in Iran, that makes Israel look like the bad guy on the world stage. But I don't think Israel has a problem looking like the bad guy right now. I think, and even, it's bad when it seems as if the U.S. is kind of trying to reel Israel in right now. They're like, hey, you need to calm down a little bit. Maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you shouldn't do that. And Israel is like, all steam ahead at the moment. But I want to go ahead and roll this news clip really quickly, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
The world's leading terror sponsor launching its first direct military assault against Israel. Iran's Revolutionary Guard retaliating after two of its officials, one of them being its top official, were killed in a strike at a consulate in Syria earlier this month. Here to break down the terror regime's goal of reshaping the Middle East and the world as we know it, Iran scholar and author Behnam Ben Taleblu. Behnam, thank you very much for being here. What is their goal, and do they think they advanced the ball down the field last night?
Pleasure to be with you. In essence, I think the regime is trying to enact a death by 1,000 cuts strategy against Israel. We know that for 45 years it's had enmity, ideological and strategic, with the Jewish state. And when it says death to Israel, it means it. When it says death to America, it means it. But unlike other actors, this regime knows how to fight to live another day. So I think last night was just the beginning of a change that we're seeing in the security posture of the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism. So expect more, not less, public operations.
So that's interesting, because you could have a debate about whether or not the Iranian leadership and regime is a rational actor. You're sort of saying they're both, that they have this ideological bent, but they're not suicidal. So they want death to Israel, but they're going to inform the world that they're going to attack because it serves their purposes for now in pursuit of a larger goal.
That's right. Some would say the word for this is means ends rational. They may have irrational ends, but they can logically and rationally follow those ends using the limited means they have. And just look at what they struck Israel with last night. Cheap, low and slow flying drones and more expensive, high and fast flying ballistic missiles. Both of these are replacements for the fact that the Islamic Republic of Iran has an exceptionally outdated air force. These are weapons of the weak, but the Islamic Republic has become home to the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East, and it's been turning that into its advantage.
So if do they have weapons capable of surpassing these missile defense systems, and they intentionally did not use them?
I think they have a lot more of the same. So sometimes they say quantity has a quality of its own.
Sure.
There were reportedly only 200 to 300 cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones employed last night. Tehran could employ probably hundreds more, marry them up with even cheaper drones, for example. The Islamic Republic has a lot more lethality, mobility, survivability behind its ballistic missiles. I fear that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
So you say death by 1,000 cuts, that might be their strategy. In pursuit of that goal, then what do future cuts look like? How would you anticipate Iran continues to try to get at the state of Israel and the United States?
Well, first, it has a diplomatic strategy to stop the normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel at all costs. Second, it wants to pick off U.S. regional partners like the UAE, like some of the Gulf Cooperation Council states, get them to hedge a bit more. Third, it wants to integrate China and Russia much more into the security architecture of the region. Those are Iran's lawyers, after all. And fourth, it wants to continue to animate a boom and bust cycle of violence against Israel from wherever it comes, from the Gaza Strip, from Lebanon, from Syria, and to force Israel to essentially be eradicated. And that's why they've encircled Israel with a ring of fire of Iran-backed weaponry, drones, missiles, rockets, you name it.
Real quick, Behnam, do you anticipate a retaliation from Israel, and how large?
I certainly do, even though there are some troubling signs that the Biden administration may be backing away already or trying to put handcuffs on Israel. I think especially after a post-October 7 Middle East, it would be impossible to think of a world where the Israelis would not. I don't necessarily think they're going to go for nuclear facilities, but I do think they're going to try to engage in deterrence by punishment.
Behnam, thank you for your time. An Iran scholar from FDD. Thank you for being here.
Now, for me and you personally, we probably don't necessarily care. But over there, it's very important for them to have the moral high ground in certain situations. And right now, a lot of the countries in the Middle East feel as if they have the moral high ground over Israel because of everything that's happening in Gaza. So Iran has kind of put Israel in a position depending on how you look at it, of course, they've put Israel in a position to, hey, if this conflict spills over to all-out war with Iran and these other countries in the Middle East, hey, it's Israel's fault. It's not our fault, because we didn't come in and kill Israel's general and their top-ranking officials. No, we didn't. Israel did that to us while we were in Syria having a meeting. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the only way I can put it is like this. What do you think would happen if one of our high-ranking generals was having a meeting in a foreign country, and we have high-ranking military officials at this meeting, and then some country bombed that building and killed all of our officers and our generals? What do you think America would do? We would probably level that country to the ground. So that's kind of the position that Iran has been put in. But they didn't level Israel to the ground. They didn't attack Israel with all of their might. In fact, they kind of, I mean, the attack yesterday was very large. But knowing the defense systems that Israel has, knowing that the U.S. and British air forces are in the sky shooting down drones, Iran could have done more. So right now it looks like Iran has kind of put Israel into position to where when Israel responds, it's going to be viewed on the world stage that Israel started this war with Iran. And I mean, they're already talking in Israel like, hey, this is war with Iran. That's basically what they're saying. Like, this is full-scale war now. So I imagine it's going to get worse. I do think this will be a slow burn. I think this will play out for months. And right when you think, oh, this is nothing to worry about anymore, just like how people were feeling a couple of days ago, then the thing can heat up again. That's what people need to understand, that this can heat up at any moment. And America is going to be involved one way or the other, and we're already sending more troops as we speak. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. If you want to donate, you can donate via Cash App or Super Thanks. And with that being said, I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.